Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This session focuses on measuring bilingualism. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would be able to understand what are the concerns and issues related to the idea of measuring bilingualism. Well, my dear students, when it comes to the use of bilingualism and when it comes to deciding how far a person is bilingual and how far bilingualism is operative in a society, it needs to be measured. And there are certain issues that are related to the measurement of bilingualism. In fact, bilingualism is such a complex phenomenon and it is equally complex to measure it that it needs to be addressed properly in sociolinguistics. And though there are different researchers and linguists and sociolinguists who have given different views on it, there are still certain discrepancies and there are certain issues that are yet not resolved. Why there are issues and problems with reference to the measurement of bilingualism? Well, when we define a bilingual, the definition of a bilingual varies from a person's ability to use a few words of L2, that is of second language, from this to a person being fluent and being proficient in the use of more than two languages. Now, if this is a wide range where a person who can just speak a few words of L2 and on the other end of the line there is a person who can fluently and with equal proficiency speak both the languages, on the line there are varied points where different people would fall in terms of their ability to use more than one languages. In this case, it becomes difficult. How would we compare and contrast this ability of one person to the other person's ability and the use and the practices of the other person to the third person and thus to the fourth person, etc. Well, with reference to this, Cutchrow 1969 has also discussed different types of bilingualism and has referred to the continuum, the scaling of bilingualism using three measuring points. And I think this is one of significant contributions that Cutchrow has made. According to this continuum, he has categorized it or divided it into three levels. The first point is, if you look at the screen, this is a 0 point. The second point that Cutchrow has referred to is a central point, whereas the third point, according to him, is the upper point. Well, what is a 0 point? 0 point refers to competence in very restricted domains of use of L2, such as, for example, counting, as he has given the example of. It is not only Cutchrow, there are other sociolinguists who have contributed towards this. So Richards 1974 gives the example of African market women who have a very, very limited knowledge of English language. They don't know much of English, but they are bilinguals in the sense that they can use this basic vocabulary knowledge of English to attract the customers who come to their shops, the tourists who come to their shops to buy. In the same way, when we look at the Philippines context, the level of mixed speech that is also, interestingly called hello, hello. This is a very minimalistic kind of bilingualism practice that takes place there. If we try to understand it in our context of understanding and context of our own experiences, the religious social practice of performing Hajj in Saudi Arabia is one of the examples of that, because when people from all over the world, they come there, these different nationalities and different speech communities and different groups of people from different societies, when they come there, a lot of them, they do not know much English, but they use it for communication purposes, and sometimes even some knowledge of Arabic is used for these purposes. So this multilingual and bilingual practice that takes place there is also on a very minimal level, and we can count it in the 0 level again. On this continuum that Cottrell has presented, when we move from the 0 level to the next level, that is the central level, Cottrell places the law courts, administration, civil servants, and teachers at the central place. The bilingual or the multilingual practices of all of these are placed on the line at the center. So their, in a way, their ability to use language is not minimalistic. However, we cannot also say that this is the maximum. This is somewhere, a mediocre kind of or an average kind of usage of more than two languages. Whereas when we compare this to the third level, that is the upper level, as he has mentioned on this line, this is those people who can use English very fluently and very effectively for all the purposes, and this is most of the times, according to Cottrell, used in a social control, such as the government officials, etc. use this language. Well, my dear students, to Fishman 1972, if the frequency of an event can be cited as an indication of the normalcy, then societal bilingualism is obviously a normal phenomenon, because when it happens on a societal level, not on the individual's level, so because everybody does that and it happens very frequently, so this frequency can be used as a token or as a measurement to say that a society is multilingual. It is present in almost all countries and is dominant in a goodly number. It is also evidenced by the spread of lingua franca English, where, even if people in a particular community or a particular nation or a state, they just know one language related to that area or state or nation, the other language mostly, this is how, because of English being a lingua franca is happening in the world, that the other language that they know is English language, even if it is on the very minimal level. Well, my dear students, if you look at the screen, here I would show you one of the ways of how to measure bilingualism. Actually, a bilingual skill in the use of both languages may not be, and generally it is not the same at linguistic levels. And actually, if you look at this model, what you would see here at the left side of the model is different skills are mentioned. What are those skills? As I hope you know, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. So, when a person is a bilingual or a multilingual, actually that person uses more than one languages for or with reference to all these 1, 2, 3, and 4 skills. However, the things are not that simple, and it is not only that these 4 skills are to be measured in terms of bilingualism, but also there are different aspects of each of these skills. So, for instance, there are phonological, grammatical, lexical, semantic, stylistic, and graphic levels, which are to be measured with reference to the 2 languages if we call them language A and language B. So, practically what is to be done is, for instance, if listening is to be measured, for that purpose, for both languages A and B, phonological, grammatical, lexical, semantic, stylistic, and graphic levels are to be measured. Same would go for the next skills, reading and then speaking and then writing. So practically each of these 4 skills is to be measured on different levels in order to have an aggregate of or a complete comprehensive measurement of the ability of a person to speak more than one languages. Well, my dear students, Mackey's this model accommodates a wide range of differences in bilingual skills and their levels and their degrees of bilingualism. So, the model is effective in the sense that it enables somebody to measure it. However, in practical terms, there are still certain problems in relation to the model. Romain 1995 also has commented on the issues of measurement. And according to Romain, any description of bilingualism must address 4 aspects. And what are the 4 aspects with reference to this measurement? Degree, function, alternation, and interference. So, to what degree bilingualism is being used, what functions are being performed by language A and what functions are being performed by language B, what are the processes of alternation, shift from one language to the other, shifting from code A to code B, how that process happens, and how far there is an interference in the learning of L2. These are different aspects that Romain has talked about when it comes to the issue of measurement of, bilingualism. But overall, what we can say is that the issue of measuring bilingualism is not very simple. It has its own complexities.